In this chapter, we are going to learn four more important topics about Katalon Studio. That is, how do we verify an expected result to an actual result? That will be done through verify equal or verify elements. There are a lot of other options that we will see. Another second item would be scroll down, how we can scroll down to a particular element on a web page, how we can make use of variables, and how we can use call test case to make a reference to an existing test case. So for example, all this while, our common scenario is login. So we don't need to re-record or copy paste the steps from the previous test case. So what we can do is we can make a reference to that particular test case which is for login into the future test cases. So let's get started. So for scroll element, what we will do is, so the moment we come to login page, post login, and go under my info, this is the page that would be coming up. So this is the page in view. If we scroll down, we will see other section like preferences and another section like attachment, right? So what we will do is to scroll down to this particular element where the word attachment is present. So this is first thing that we are going to see today. Another thing is that we are going to do verify equal. So in the previous chapter, we have seen we have uploaded file 3.txt. So in this chapter, we will see how we can verify whether the file 3.txt is the actual file that we are supposed to upload. So we will do like verify actual object with the expected object. Another thing is the variables, and the fourth thing would be call test case. That is all these test case like before the pre-login. That is all the launching the browser, navigating to the URL, and the authentication. So for that we will make use something called as call test case. So let me go to Katalon Studio. Okay. So we can create a new test case. So for example, this test case we can name it as orange, and we can call it as name it as verify comma scroll down comma few other things called test case. Yeah, called test case. Just give any meaningful name to it. Okay, so the first thing is that we are going to, instead of copy the test case like this one, the steps number 1 to let's say step number 7 for entire login, instead of copy and paste over here, what we can do is we can make reference of this test case, which is login portion, into our new test case. So that can be done using click on the arrow button next to the add and go to call test case. The moment you go to call test case, it will show all the test cases that is under the test case folder over here. So let us click on that, right? So our test case is under my tutorial, and the test case that we want to call is the login HRM. So click on that, click on OK. So this is the step, which is basically all the step 7 or 8 steps over here. So until that, so login, after login screen, then we need to click on my info, right? So for example, in this test case that we are calling, it is only for authentication and my info is not there, right? What we can do is we can copy that particular line, which we have already done in the previous chapter, was under file upload. So yes, so my info, so control C, or maybe you can right click and copy and go to your new test case, and after this test case you can say paste. Correct? Yeah. So now in these two steps we have all the login script, and then going up to my info. We can save until here and close the rest of the things. Okay. Now we know after going to my info, we need to scroll down to attach elements and do the verify for this file 3.txt. So basically we will make use of spy again to spy the attachment, this particular web element, and this file web element, file 3.txt web element. So for spy, we know we can go to spy and start doing a spy on Firefox, for example. Okay, so whatever thing that we don't want to spy and the action that we are taking, it will not be recorded. So yeah, until login, we don't need anything. Sorry, the password is wrong. Why is it saying that? Okay, let us type that. Okay, it is okay now. So after that, we will go to my info and let the page load fully, the entire DOM, and then we can go scroll down to attachments and the file to do the spy, right? So for a spy, we know we can mouse over here to the attachments and press Alt and Tilt key to capture that particular object. So I will press Alt and Tilt together. Okay, so span attachment, this has been captured. Now I need, let's say, file3.txt. So also same thing, I will select the object that I want to spy and then click or press Alt and Tab key together, right? So let me do one more time. Okay, sometimes it happens that when you try to capture an object, it doesn't come. So you need to just try 2-3 times, or maybe select the area. So I'll try again, file 3. Okay, so file3.txt has come. So basically, these are the two things that we need to capture. So we are ready, and we can go and add the new test step into our test script. So before that, we need to save it as a good practice. Just try to save all these objects into a particular folder that you can remember of, and that should be logically organized, because once you are into automation, there will be a lot of test objects that you will deal with, and once there is an error, then you need to see through into the oceans of all the objects. So to segregate those things, we can always uh, segregate it based on a naming convention. So, right, for example, maybe under file upload or checkbox, maybe I already have a spy over here. Maybe if you want, we can create under the name same folder. And this time I call it as a spy for spy, maybe a spy 2. Very simple name. Click on OK. So this is a separate folder. But there is no harm if you want to store all these captured objects into an existing folder. No issues with that at all. Okay, click on OK, and I'm done. We can close it. Okay, so after login, which is called test case, then I will go to my info. After my info, we need to scroll down to the attachments first, right? After we go here, coming to my info, then we need to scroll down to the attachment section so that we can see the scroll action happening, right? So we'll go over here and I will add a new step that is called as scroll down or a scroll to element or position. So here we will use the example of a scroll to element. So double click on it and it is asking for a scroll to what element. So the element or the object is null. So double click on it and we know we have stored it under file upload, I believe, just now. Yes, under spy 2. Okay, so this is page personal detail. This is the page object model, and that is where all the related object of that particular page would be stored. So span attachment. Okay, so this is the third step, scroll to element, and after scroll to element, I want to verify this file3.txt. So before we can verify, we have to first get text from that element and store it in a variable. So that would be called an actual object, and then we have to compare it with an expected object. So we are going to add a couple of steps more over here. So after scroll to element, I need to get text of this visible file name over here. So for that, what we can do is add, and the element, the function that we should call is get text. Yeah, get text. And get text of what? Get text of this particular element that we have captured, right? So null, inside the null we need to go to this file spy3, okay, sorry, spy2, and span file3.txt. Okay, so this particular line will get the text of this particular object, and the output will be file3.txt. So what I will do, I will store the output into a variable, and I will call that as let's say actual file name. Yeah, actual file name. So this is a variable, and that variable will store the value of this particular web element. If we go to script mode, it will be much easier to understand as well if we have some background of programming. So here you can see the actual file name is a variable, so that is why it is on the left side, and then this will get the actual file name from this particular web element. Yeah, and that will be stored into a variable called as actual file name. Correct. So going back to manual mode, now I need to do a verify of this particular text, correct, with the expected is, our expected expectation is it should be file3.txt. So there is an actual that is coming during the execution time, and verify is where we need to verify two variables like variable a and b, right? So variable a is, let's say, or so first variable is actual file name, and the variable b would be the expected file name. So how we can do is we need to call a function that is called as verify equal. So verify equal, yes, verify equal. In fact, if I mouse over here, right, this particular function, it gives the entire implementation, how this function is to be called, what are the parameters that are required, right? So it says it returns true if actual object is equal to expected object, otherwise false. Okay, the parameter that we need to pass is the actual object and the expected object. So that's why we have created an actual object or a name of our output variable file, and expected is what we are going to pass now. Flow control is something like, what you want Katalon to do if this particular step fails. So this is true for any step that will come over here. So if you right click on it, and there is something called as change failure handling. So default is always continue on failure. Okay, and if you want Katalon to stop after a particular step has failed, then you can select either it as stop on failure. So I am not going to change anything, but just for to cover this topic, what does this from a parameter perspective means. Okay, so now it is saying verify equal null of null. It means verify what to what. So what to what is nothing or null over here, so we have to pass the value for both these null, right? So if you double click on it, so it is telling the first parameter is actual object, right? So our actual object is what is here. This is the actual file name, is the actual object, right? That this particular variable is storing the value of during the execution time, right? What it will collect. So the type is, we know it is a variable, right? Because it is into the output column, so it is a variable for sure. So I will select variable, yeah, and the value is, click on this arrow. Sorry. Actual object. Why it is not coming here? Git. Okay. Let me try again. Is it because it is not saved? Shouldn't be. So verify equal type is okay, it is not a variable. Okay, should work. Actual object is also a variable. Why it is not coming? Is it because the name is too big? Shouldn't be verify equal. Should be a variable. Why the variable is not coming here? Okay, never mind. Let's say we change it to some small name like ABC. Let's name the variable as such, and let's try to change it to variable. Okay, what is not coming? Okay, and why it is not coming? Should come. Input is my variable, and what is my variable? Not showing anything. Okay, okay. Let me cover for the variables first. Okay, so let's say I want to. Okay, in the expected object, you can actually pass it either as a string over here. Okay, and pass the value as file3.txt. Okay, click on OK, and this is how it will look. So this is one way of doing it. Yeah, and if we want to try the variables over here, it means that you can store this static test like file3.txt, which is our expected value. We can always store it over here. So what I will do, I'll create a variable, okay, and I will call it as, let's say, expected file name. Here it is of type 3, and here I will pass a value file3.txt. Okay, go back to manual mode now, and instead of directly passing file3.txt over here, what I can do is I can make use of variables over here, and here if we see, okay, so expected file name is the one that we created just now. Okay, so this problem is resolved. Okay, this should be okay. Never mind, let me run and see how does it look like. Yeah, sorry. Okay, let us run it first. So we are not looking at step number 5. Let me try to see if we can do until step number 4. And that will include a scrolling down, calling a test case, and getting the text. And for next round of execution, because definitely we have to run another couple of rounds. So that's why in my script I have not used a closed browser, so that the session will still be active from Katalon, so that we can skip few of the test case that we don't need if it has been verified. Okay, so it looks like it has executed, and scroll down to this particular page as well. So if we go here, okay, so as expected, step number 5 has some problem, but let's leave it for analysis purpose. Okay, so call test case is successfully called, right? All the logging is done. After that, scroll to element. Yes, it was able to go to the attachment and scroll down up to the attachment field, and then get text. So let's see what is the output that has been stored here, right? In ABC. Okay, so text of the object, this particular object is file3.txt, right? So that is being stored in variable ABC now. And when we say verify equal, okay, it is understood unable to verify equal between actual object, which is null, of course, because we have passed null so far, and expected object file3.txt, right? So let us see if step number 5 can be changed now. Should have, it has to be a type of variable, but not sure why it is not. Okay, no, it is still showing expected file name. Should take as, what is the issue? Let me check my previous test case. So verify equal getting text into a variable. Okay. Maybe there is some problem with the naming convention. I don't believe that should be a problem, but never mind. For simplicity reason, let me just put store the output into a variable a. Let me save it, and okay, let me try to pass it over here. Okay, so variable a, that is the actual object and expected object. Okay, my session is still active, and what I need to do is I need to actually run from step number 4 and not just step number 5, because step number 4, the previous variable was ABC, and now it has been changed to a, and now I want to store the variable in a and compare a with the expected file name, which is being passed as a variable over here, which is file3.txt. So let us run it from here, and see. Okay, select all, it is asking me to save, so click on OK. Okay, test case has started executing. Okay, so this time it looks like it has passed, right? So yes, so if we go to step number 4, yes, the output that has been stored in variable a, that is the actual file name that has come up from here. This is the actual value during the execution time, and that value is file3.txt, and our expected value was in expected file name, which was under variable over here, that was passed here, right? So once we do verify of that, verify this and the expected file name whether it is equal or not. So it says actual object file3.txt and expected object file3.txt are equal, right? So let's say if we just want to do some negative tests, right? So we can always change our here, right? So maybe I say this is like file 333, something like that. Come to manual mode, save it, and if we run it from here again, because the session is still active, so this time it will say actual object and expected object are not equal. So let's verify that as well. Perfect, as expected, the step number 5 has failed. So value of object A is file3.txt, which is during the runtime, and verify equal, it says unable to verify equal between actual object, which is file3.txt, and expected object, that is file3333.txt, are not equal. So this is how we do verify. And there are other things like we can do is like verify element. There are a lot of other functions. If you click over here, you can see a lot of things about verify element. Verify element, whether it is checked, clickable, has attribute, okay, is present, is visible, or has text. Okay, there are a lot of other things, verify equal, verify greater than, verify less than. There are a lot of functions that we can make use of. So that's it for this chapter, and I will see you in the next chapter with few other things like how we can run a particular test case on multiple browsers, and with sequential and parallel runs. And probably we will see some things on the regular expression that comes very handy when we do automation testing. So see you in the next lecture. Thank you.